Why do I watch this? Oh, I can just listen to it. Yeah, this is the part you don't get when I record. I'm going to start now. You ready? Here we go. Hello, and thank you for checking into the Stuff I Heard podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Peak. Hi. I know some of you guys are listening to this on the audio file, and I do appreciate every one of you. And a lot of you are watching it on the YouTube, and that's great. I just called it the YouTube, like I was George W. explaining the internets. Anyway, or on the internship movie, when they call it going on the line. Yeah, I'm going to go on the line. It's called online. Yeah, I know, on the line. I'm going on the line. Anyway, right now you're like, shut up and go on with it. I want to talk a little bit about what's going on right now. Okay, there's a lot going on. We've had a lot going on. Oh, our little town of Florence, South Carolina has been put on the map, and not for a good thing. We had a shooting happen. It's a bad case, really awful scenario. I put out a podcast, what was it, episode 41, I think. Episode 41, I recorded and published and all that stuff, and I had a lot of things going on. And I think I talked about how I had so much going on with getting permits and, trying to get the HOA on board, which I did. I got the HOA on board, everything signed off on and good to go. I had taken a form that I had to print off online and take it up to the HOA president, and as I'm pulling up, I had glanced on my phone for a second and I'd seen something say, officer fatally shot in Florence, and I was like, oh no, that's not good. Or officer shot in Florence. That's all I saw. Anyway, so I went over to meet my neighbor, the president of HOA, and I was talking to him about, my project, what I'm going to do with the back deck. And as we're talking, we hear non-stop shooting going on in the distance. And it's about, I guess as the crow flies, maybe a mile and a half away. I mean, it was probably 40 minutes of just, he goes, is that fireworks? That's too loud to be fireworks. That sounds like gunshots. And I was like, yeah, it sounds like pistols. Just raining fire of bullets. What happened was, apparently, some guy, 74-year-old fella, I'm not going to say his name, these officers came to investigate and serve a warrant or a search warrant or something in that neighborhood of investigating a sex crime involving one of this guy's stepsons or foster sons. I don't know all the details perfectly, and I'm sorry. I know there's right now people who know all about this who are like, you should learn more about it and talk more about it. Fine, look it up on the internet, and then you can tell me about it. How about that? Anyway, these officers went there to investigate and apparently were shot at, and one of them died. A couple of them are apparently in critical condition, and I want to say he shot 7 people. 5 of them were police officers. 1 of them passed away. The guy who passed away was a veteran police officer. He had just received his 30-year pin. It was a sad scenario. So our little town got put on the national map for something terrible because some idiot decided to just mow down people unaware of the fact that they were going to be murdered. And it's awful. It makes you ask a lot of questions of why would this happen. And I know people who are anti-gun people are going to be like, see, people shouldn't have guns. Well, I don't agree with that. I got to talking to a guy recently. We were discussing the fact of, the Second Amendment and what the Second Amendment means. And I've talked about this on this podcast before, being a former Marine. In the Marine Corps, we discuss about what it means to take deadly force and the implications that it is and the severity that it is and how you're not supposed to take deadly force unless you yourself are experiencing deadly force. If someone's trying to kill you or hurt you, then you have the right to defend yourself. And, leading up to deadly force is different than just an altercation. It's a great thing to take someone's life. Not great, like yay. Like it's a huge responsibility because you're ending someone's life. And you know, the idea of the Second Amendment supposedly protecting people from their government is a bunch of crap. In today's age, if the government wanted to take you out, they would just bomb you or poison you or take your house or whatever. They could do whatever they wanted to if they wanted to do it. But they don't want to do that, to be honest with you. Think about the fact that they like when everybody's succeeding and everybody seems happy and blissful and paying taxes, because then they can write open-ended checks to do whatever crazy project it is they want to do. They can further their political career, they can pad their wallets, they can help their buddies out with their little silly little projects. But they need the people to kind of be happy and just keep throwing in the tax money. Now, here's the strange part is we have little control over what kind of taxes we're charged. Because they pass laws all the time saying, yeah, we're just going to up the tax on that. Yeah, it's fine. No, we should add we should definitely create this thing to have a tax on that. Yeah. The people pay it. It's fine. Whether people admit it or not, or they know it or not, we've been paying for the fact that we've been at war since 2011 with our gas taxes. You know, gas is more readily available now than it was 20 years ago. And yet we're still paying a buttload at the tank because most of that is taxes. And everybody pays it, whether you're a law-abiding citizen or a thug or an out-of-work, whatever. If you're getting around, you're still paying for gas. So you're still paying for G.I. Joe to be off at sea and off at, in another country with an occupational war, which I don't agree with. I don't agree we should have an occupational war. I think that the idea that we're in the name of peace, supposedly just over there patrolling, is a lie. In a way, we've sort of, in the name of peace, made ourselves the biggest superpower of saying, no, we need to be in all these countries and we need to have a presence because we need to have force, because it's all about freedom and it's all about protecting these people. No, it's not. Not in my opinion. In my opinion, it's a show of force, and it's a show to the world of, you don't want to mess with America because we're the strongest and we're the biggest and we'll take you out. If this were in the 1940s, we would say, oh look, Hitler succeeded. He increased his empire and now he's taken over everything. Now, obviously that's a bad example because everyone associates Hitler with the worst times of America and the worst times of the world because of the genocide of millions of Jews and I worry that we're involved in an empire right now and we don't realize that we're being as callous as we are. When Obama was in office, drone warfare became a thing that was commonly spoke about. He led more drone attacks than ever in history, and it wasn't because that he had a desire to do that. It was because drones were more readily available and it became safer not to lose American lives, but to send a drone in to make things explode, make people explode. It's wrong to even say things. And there's a lot of collateral damage. There's a lot of mistakes made. Are there mistakes made more? Absolutely. Are there mistakes made all the time, no matter what their job is? Absolutely. I think the problem that most people have with it is when it's malicious, when there is intent ahead of time. This guy who shot this cop, he had malicious intent before the cops ever showed up. Apparently he knew they were coming to investigate, and he armed himself and said, that's it, I'm gonna stand my ground and I'm gonna show them who's boss. They have this guy in custody now, and of course he's got black eyes, which he should. But it was awful. It was an awful scenario. But I don't even know what to say to move on from it. All I can do is change gears. So if you're sitting down, buckle up because I'm changing gears. change is happening. Okay. The family now has the new GoPro, the GoPro 7. I'm making some videos about this, the GoPro 7 Hero Black, or I don't even know if they call it the Hero Black anymore. They just might call it the Black Edition. This thing is waterproof already. It has some new technology in it, which I really thought was impressive. I may have talked about this before, watching Casey Neistat's video with him riding a bicycle downhill over some rough terrain, and it just gives the most smoothest picture. There's something in it called hyperstabilization, which is awesome. There's a guy on YouTube that I researched last night and I really got into, and I want to talk about him for a second. If you go on YouTube and look his name up, it's one word, but it's spelled like two separate words, if that makes sense. Like the first name is Mick, M-I-C, capital M, little I, little C. Bergsma, big B, E-R-G-S-M-A, Bergsma. Yeah, that's it. The guy's really fit, he's got long hair, and right away when he starts to talk, you go, what the hell's wrong with his voice? Because he's got a real high-pitched voice, but then you realize he's talking and he's using his hands, he's deaf. The guy makes incredible videos about technology, and he's got a lot of interesting filming tricks, and he talks a lot about the GoPro 7, doing reviews on it. Just looking on his page right now, he's got 441,000 subscribers. That tells you how good of a YouTuber he is. Just the fact that he can keep and maintain that and grow that. He's good. Okay? Go online and check out these videos where they talk about this GoPro right here. GoPro came out with several different versions of the 7. They got a white, a silver, and the black, and they all have little subtle differences. The black is apparently the better one of the group. This is $400, and if you order it from GoPro, they give you a 32 gigabyte miniature SD card that fits inside of there too. He does a test on here where he tracks their filming time of the different versions of the 7, or he does the filming difference of the 7, the 6, and the 5 battery life. And apparently the battery life on this is about an hour and 25, hour and 35 minutes. The 6 and the 5 are a little bit longer by 10 or 20 minutes. But this thing has technology in it called Hypersmooth. Like I said, he's doing a lot of experiments here where he runs and he does stuff on a boosted board and on a bicycle and on a golf cart and driving around with the thing attached to his car. It is so smooth when you look at the video. It is awesome. He also does something on here called time lapse. He takes this thing to a fair at night, and you can see the different, you know, like the what's it called? The Ferris wheel, the big lit up Ferris wheel spinning, and the tilt-a-whirl thing spinning and lit up, and it's just beautiful. Okay, there's no other way to describe it. It's beautiful. So I had two GoPros. I had the little miniature 4 sessions camera, and I had the 4 standard camera, which I still have the standard 4 Hero Black, and it's up for sale, by the way, if anybody wants to buy one. I'm looking to sell it for about $100. I did sell the Sessions camera for $100. It comes with the memory card, and I got the case that makes it waterproof, and then that you can mount it with. If anybody's interested, just hit me up. But I'm enjoying this so far. I got it yesterday. I came home from work, I charged it, and I played around with it last night, just running around the room and kind of filming myself do some stuff. I really like the touchscreen stuff on the back. I'm gonna make a unboxing video and put it on YouTube, so that's gonna be on there either before this or after this. I don't know. I gotta have time. I don't have time, but that's gonna happen. So enough about Mick Bergsma. I don't even know where he's from, but his videos are incredible. You gotta watch his videos. You can tell he gets better, because I went back and watched some older videos, and he definitely is getting better now than he was then. Which that happens with everybody, right? I mean, if you're listening to this, you're like, hey Josh, your first podcast really sucked, but these are better, you know. Thank you, by the way. If you're thinking that, you're probably not. You're probably like, you're so full of your crap. Anyway, South Carolina Gamecocks did have a win today. They had a W, which is nice. I didn't watch it. I stayed busy outside today. We have a back deck project. Our back deck, I think I've talked about this before, had some rain damage. If you're checking in for the first time, this is all new to you, but if you're listening to this before, just skip ahead 30 seconds. Our back deck had some rain damage from the 11 years that it's been here and that we've been here, and the boards needed to be fixed or replaced, and I thought, you know, we can replace it. And then my wife goes, or we could look at making it bigger. And I was like, you're right, we could make it bigger. So we've been outside today basically clearing off everything that was on the deck. I had 3 grills, I had a table, some chairs, I had various plants and whatnot. We pulled all that off of there. I pulled my Rambler out of the garage. I got it sitting outside the garage and I needed that space. Put everything that was on the deck in there. I had some concrete pavers that were on the ground, about 60 of them honestly. And I told my wife those had to come up because we're going to have to dig where some of those are, and I'd rather just get them out of the way now. And my wife, she's a trooper. She was like, well, I didn't go to the gym this morning, so I'll help you. And she suited up, and I used a crowbar to pry them up, and she moved every one of them over to the side, out of the way. We once we got that done, I got a tape measure and some white paint, and I started marking off where I'm going to dig my holes for my footers. I'd also, well, I should say I got up at 7 this morning, went to Sam's, went to Walmart, got groceries, came home, or went by Mom's, picked up postal diggers and a shovel. Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Dan. Mom and Dan let me borrow those. Big help. Came home, dropped all that stuff off, and made some bacon for my wife because she loves bacon and I love bacon. Had some coffee, and then took off back to Lowe's, and I bought 18 4x4x10s for the footers, and I bought 10 bags of quick set concrete stuff, and about 6 2x4x8s, because I was thinking I might brace these up to make sure that they don't fall over. This is what I was thinking, okay? I hadn't really figured out what I was going to do. Now, the story is that the footers have to be so deep in order for them to be properly signed off on by the inspector. I have to call the inspector the day before he's supposed to come. Now, my plan is to be off work Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and call the inspector on Tuesday for him to be there Wednesday to say, you're good to go. I got everything mapped out, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, it doesn't look great. It doesn't look like I think it should be. And how do I get this thing square just right? Then it dawned on me, I have a neighbor right up the street named Pete, who is a contractor, and Pete is also in the project of building himself a pool and a pool house. And I called Pete up and I said, Pete, I need suggestions. And he's like, sure, bud, what you need? I said, can you come down here and take a look at this? I'm doing a back deck project and I need an expert's opinion. He's like, I'm on the way. So he came down and he talked me through running a string line parallel to, you know, like using the house as a 90-degree angle and coming off different ends and squaring it up using these corners of the house with some string and some stakes. So I didn't have the string or the stakes, and I thought, all right, I gotta go back to Lowe's. So we cleared everything out from underneath the deck. We had some stuff we had to throw away at the dumpster. My wife came with me. We took the stuff to the dump, went to Lowe's, picked up some more 2x4x10s because I need braces to go across an 8-foot section, and if I only have 8-foot boards, that's not long enough. So I got some 10-footers, and Pete suggested that I use the string to square it up, dig the holes, get some gravel to put in the bottom of the hole. Even though they're pressure treated, you still want to have them off the ground if you can. He said I would dig an extra 6 inches just for the gravel. But the idea here is that I'm not going to set it with Quikrete yet. I'm going to dig the holes and I'm going to have them ready, but I'm going to have the inspector come out and check them with his tape measure before we walk away from it. I may have the wood in place and I may use boards to brace it up, and I'll have the Quikrete ready. That's a name brand. It's not really Quikrete. It's like a whatever Lowe's brand of fast setting concrete is. I got that stuff ready to set it in the hole just as soon as this guy says you're good to go. So that's all part of it. You know, I'm going to put it all together and it's going to happen. So let me reset my camera. Listening, you're going to be like, really? He's resetting the camera? Yeah, this is the YouTube part of it. Let's talk for a second about the biggest thing that's going on in America right now, which is this Kavanaugh guy just got elected to be our Supreme Court Justice. This is the highest court in the land, the Supreme Court is. And I listen to a lot of podcasts, and recently I listened to Bonnie McFarland on Bert Kreischer's podcast, and she said that this vote for him to be the Supreme Court Justice is less to do with something that happened years ago and more to do with the fact of if he gets elected, they think that he's going to overturn Roe versus Wade. Which, if you don't know what Roe versus Wade is, it's the debate in a court case that's been going on since I think the early 70s of whether or not it's okay for children to be aborted, unborn children to be aborted, and at what time is it okay. And like there's a whole thing about churches getting involved and saying that a life is a life is a life, and as soon as there's a cell, then it's a life. And there's this whole debate between who's right and who's wrong and who has a say in it. And you know, I was born in 74, and this discussion has been going on around me my entire life. And being a 45-year-old man, I can tell you I should not have an opinion. This is not a guy issue. This is not a... You can say it's a church issue because they have to have a platform on everything. But I'll be honest with you, this is a woman's issue. This should be voted on only by women. And my opinion, just my personal opinion, I think there should be a time when you go, okay, look, at this point, it's a person, and don't abort this baby. Let the baby be born and figure out what to do. But then there's this jerk part of my brain that goes, you know, if abortion worked, then all these idiots wouldn't be on my Twitter feed right now just talking just absolute nonsense. Because then you'd be gone and you wouldn't be on my Twitter feed being awful people. I know that's not a popular thing to say, and I know right now my mom's probably listening going, Josh, really? Yeah, sorry, Mom. There's some really crappy people out there, and they're really crappy to each other, and a lot of them are really crappy to me. I am daily hitting the block or abuse button on YouTube or on my social media because there's a lot of low lives out there who have nothing better to do than just spout crap. The internet calls them trolls. I guess that's a good term because all they do is feed off of the crap that they can generate themselves, and it makes them feel good about themselves. You wouldn't believe how many comments I get on YouTube every day of people going, "You're such a worthless piece of shit, dude. You know, blah, blah, blah. This is so stupid. You should just smash yourself in the face with a hammer until you die." And I'm like, really? Really? Oh boy, enjoy the abuse button there, buddy. Let YouTube handle you. Click. I mean, seriously, but you know, what is wrong with people? Honestly. I mean, I know that I am extremely blessed. I know that I am lucky in the fact that I was born into a family that loved me. I know that I am lucky in the fact that I got nurtured and I got encouraged, and that doesn't escape me. Because of my job, I work with a lot of people, and I know a lot of people have very worst upbringings. I was friends with people who had things that went wrong in their lives as they were growing up. And that hardship has made them into extraordinary people today. I think that's why I'm friends with them. I think that's why we're close. I tend to bond to people who overcome adversity. People who let adversity dictate their lives in ways that they just are a victim. I don't enjoy that at all. I don't have any commonality with you. I cannot even relate to you. I have people on my Facebook right now who are friends or / family who think the sky is falling right now because Kavanaugh got elected as the Supreme Court Justice. And they are ranting and raving and sad and depressed and angry and they did the same thing when Trump was elected. They were so vocal about, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever and the sky is gonna fall. Get over yourself. Get over yourself. Grow up. You know, the thing I found is that the people who are most vocal about that kind of crap are the least vocal in person. They are the least active in person. They don't do anything. All they do is get on their social media and, oh, this sucks, and this is awful, and bleh. You should all die, you should suck on it. And meanwhile, when they go out in public, they don't even talk to people. They don't want to run for election. They don't want to get involved with their local politics. They don't want to find out the name of their local senator. They don't want to call them and give them their opinion. They don't want to do crap. A lot of them don't even work. They just sit around and spout crap on the internet. Why? Why? Does it do anything for you other than make me pissed off? You're not doing it to piss me off. You're doing it because you think you're making a difference. It kind of makes me want to purge people off my social media. I mean, just go through it and just don't care, don't care, don't care. Delete, 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 delete. Don't care, delete. Why do I need to keep up with all you people? Really? I mean, don't get me wrong. I appreciate the ones who watch my videos and give me thumbs up and want to contribute and are like, hey, I don't agree with you, but you know, let's talk about it. Okay. I'm okay with a difference of opinion. I'm okay with people who see things differently than I do. You're supposed to. We're different people. But honestly, people don't know how to have a disagreement because they feel like they have to belittle one another in the process. We have to learn as adults in this country to disagree, but also be respectful as we disagree. We haven't done that, and we're not setting an example for our children. We have to do this. And we have to talk to the next generation about how to have an argument properly. See, that's something that I learned years ago when I went through my first marriage. My first marriage, I was young and stupid, and we both were. We made a lot of mistakes. And one of the biggest mistakes we did is when we argued, we belittled one another. And I realized somewhere along the way that that was wrong. And I tried to change course, and I tried to be a better person, and I tried to talk to her about, listen, we haven't learned how to fight correctly because we're young and we're stupid. But here's something that we can do. We can change the way we have arguments. We're not supposed to agree on everything. We are completely different people. We have different needs, we have different fears, we have different selfishness. If we're honest, we have different selfishness. There's things, I want to do this. You have that thing in your brain going, but I want to do this. We have different motivations. And in the process, we have to be honest with ourselves and with our spouses, or in a social relevance, we have to be honest with everybody and just say, hey, listen, this doesn't go with my plan because this is what I'm afraid of. Out of every argument of anger is a fear. And we can't seem to recognize each other's fears. And to be honest, there's a lot of fears that are just hypothetical and hilarious. You know, I have friends and family who think that the world is flat. Just Google flat earthers and you can hear my blood pressure go through the roof. So, This is the part where I wish you guys could talk to me and be like, hey man, it's going to be okay. I know it is. I know it is. I know right now there are people out there who are going, you know what? This is not the scenario that I wanted. Maybe I can make something happen. And you can. You can get involved. You can be part of the change. You can take an active role in your community. You can say, you know what? I'm a good enough person. Let me run for an office. Let me try to have some kind of political influence. Let me be involved. Let me volunteer for someone's candidacy. Whatever. You have to realize that life is not always going to go the way you want it. But if you don't get involved, then you have no argument in the fact. Otherwise, it's just whining. And no one gives a shit about your whining. It's just my 2 cents worth. I know you guys were tuning in thinking, oh, Josh is going to have a positive, upbeat video today. Ha ha ha, look at all this positivity he's just spouting off at the last minute. I heard him curse. Yeah, well, that happens. There's going to be a lot happening in the next week here. I hope you guys tune in to check it out on YouTube. I am going to probably have a podcast with my dad while he's here. And possibly with Trish. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Both of them have hearing aids, so this may be difficult to do. Dad can hear a little bit better than she can, but it's hard to have a audio podcast when you have to talk loudly and in a manner where they can read your lips, if that makes any sense. I hope they're not offended by any of that. They're some of my favorite people, but it's just a fact. I understand the fact that they have a hearing loss and they have a device to help them, and I'm glad that we have the technology to do that kind of stuff. And I'm extremely thankful that they're coming to help me do this project, because I am pretty confident that I could figure it out, but it would take me a lot longer, and it probably wouldn't look as good as if my dad comes and helps me. And I'm hoping one day I can help my kids do this too. So in a way, it's sort of like passing the torch on this. But anyway, that's enough for me. I'm going to wrap this up. I hope everybody's doing well. Special shout out to Byron. Hey buddy, I'm still waiting for you to get together and do a podcast with me. And special shout out for Josh West. Get off your lazy butt and make your podcast already. We're still waiting. Shout out to Greg Steele. He is killing it down there in Georgia with his 90s cover band. 95, Ninety 5. In closing, I want to say, be kind to one another. If you have something that you disagree with, what's the right way to say about this? Argue about the argument. Don't belittle people in the process. I don't agree with the way this whole thing with Kavanaugh was handled. I think that we should have had a system of innocent until proven guilty. In a case that was 30-something years old, it's hard to prove anything. I think this was all political. I think this was a political effort from one group over another group trying to assert their will. And just by being vocal and whiny. You know, it's different when you don't have a measured, thoughtful way of speaking and you're just seen as being angry and pointing your finger in people's faces. It doesn't come across as though you've even listened to anything. You're just angry. And I know that right now we live in a climate where a lot of women are just now learning that they can talk about sexual abuse and how they were abused when they were younger. And I'm sorry that that happened to you. And I'm sorry that you're vulnerable. Guys are vulnerable too. I just listened to one of my favorite pastors, Perry Noble, talk on his podcast, Second Chance Church. about how he was sexually abused as a child. And here's a guy now who inspires people to follow Jesus. But I know it's hard to deal with. And I'm sorry. I wish there was something I could do to help you. But we still have to treat people the same. We still have to treat people with kindness. We still have to realize that there's a process in everything. You are innocent until proven guilty. Otherwise, we could just make up crap about people all the time, and that's it. They're done. So, I'm going to wrap this up. I know I've said that before. My wife says that's the one thing I do wrong, is I keep wrapping it up and then I keep talking. But maybe that's one of the things that people will enjoy in the future. I don't know. We'll see. Y'all take care and love one another. You know, Jesus says, love your neighbor as yourself. If God made us all in His image, guess what? To me, that means that this is a test of how kind we're going to be to one another. Because maybe we are the same. See you later. Bye.